Good evening, guys. Yeah, it's us. It is us. It is us. Not only is it the host, Melvin Lars of the Nobody Asked Me Guys show, I have with me again none other than I'm going to call her Dr. Chantell Overton tonight. We're going to do a smorgasbord of Overton stuff. We're just going to talk Black history. We're going to talk about some things in general. We're going to talk about life. I decided to don my dashiki this evening and a trinket just to even set myself more in the mood because many times we get so engrossed on costumes when we start talking about being African American, being Black, and we forget about the work and all of the things that go in there and all of the stuff that we should do. So tonight, guys, we want you to focus. We want you to focus on getting ready to engage in the conversation. Please come in and join us FaceTime. Please write comments in the box above. Please feel free to ask Chantell any questions that you might want to ask. Feel free to share anything that you might want to share because we will not pull any punches. And we definitely want you to understand that we full well understand that 365 and this year happens to be 366, being a leap year, is our history every day. Now, a precaution for you. If you are afraid of being who you are, you may just want to turn this show off because we're not afraid of being who we are. And we love all human beings. However, we make no apologies for being who we are. Now, we're described as African Americans and all of that. We know, as far as history tells us, regardless to where you are on this continent, it ultimately says that there's a 99% chance you came from the continent of Africa. So we want to wish you guys a good evening. We're so happy that you're here with us on the Nobody Asked Me Guys show during our Black History presentation. And again, I told you I'm going to call her Dr. Chantell this evening. She's going to be sharing with you a plethora of things, just a smorgasbord of a whole lot of stuff. So see, we're not going to try to pigeonhole and put her in a box because first of all, guys, what you should know about Dr. Chantell now, you can't pigeonhole her or put her in a box. Good evening, Chantell. How you doing, dear?
Good evening, and thank you for that. But as many degrees as I do hold, a PhD is not one of them. I am not going to take that.
You have a PhD in life. So,
well, I will say that. I will say that. But whenever I think about that, I think about the honor of being able to call my uncles who founded Overtonnation Doctor because they worked very hard for their doctorate. So, and then I have a cousin on my mom's side. Her name is Dr. Zuber. She worked extremely hard for her education. So I would never, take that lightly when I know so many people, even in my own family, have worked hard for that. But I do have a doctorate in life. Like, I've lived enough and experienced enough that yes. But I'm just Chantell. I mean, I have a few degrees and I have tons of experience, but I'm just Chantell.
Well, listen, I embrace that. And I appreciate that. I strongly, and unlike your aunt and uncles and cousins, etc., you probably hear millions of people talk about a doctorate when finishing their dissertation. I'm one of those guys. So all kinds of superintendent certifications, all that stuff. But I got lazy at the wrong time, and I make no apologies for it. Possibly before I go to sleep, I may do it just to say that I have it. So I certainly take no oomph at all from those individuals that persevered and hung in there. But thank you for straightening us out.
Yes, well, I mean, I do appreciate the compliment. I really do. Thank you. Thank you. That's a huge compliment.
Hey, listen, I call them how I see them.
Well, what are we going to talk about tonight? Where do we start?
I think we should just, we just open this thing up as I said, a smorgasbord. I don't know where you would like to start. I know you have so many things to cover just with the Overton Nation itself, the banking situation, family members on either side, the give and the take, as people like to say, the yin and the yang. The movies that have been out lately. We've just covered so many topics, and I know that when I've been watching some of the posts that you put on Facebook, and you've been highlighting so many prominent people of color, as you've shared with me on more than one occasion. Many of them related and being a part of the Overton Nation, but just your overall respect for Africans that you also have shared some other information as well. So if you're comfortable starting with just Overton Nation, if when you started the first day of the month, you want to talk about that process, or how you broke it down, or how you decided to just even do this.
Well, I started doing this, recognizing those that contributed that were African Americans doing Black History Month. I started it really last year. I really focused on it last year, and then it went so well with the family that I put extra thought into it this year and said, okay, not only you've heard me say it before, don't just tell part of my story, tell my whole story. Whether you agree with it or not, tell the whole story. So then you kind of get a better understanding on why I make the decisions I make or made the decisions I made. So I wanted to do that with Black history. One, I'm beyond tired of people bashing Black History Month, first and foremost. That's why I started with Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Okay. Because it originally started as Negro Week. Because as you know, for a very long time, for an era in our existence on this planet, Negro was the accepted term when we were addressed, because it was better than the very derogatory term. Now, most of us either want to be called Black, African American, or a few other things, and that's fine. Whatever title you want, that's perfectly fine with me. Right. But this man saw fit, along with other individuals that had came before him, like William Steele and Mr. Schomburg, during his time, like that decided that, okay, we're already being oppressed. We're already being erased as we are living. So we have to be really strategic and precise in recording our history, because what most people don't really understand, or I've at least experienced, don't get in its totality, is really why history is important. Now, I'm going to take that to segue into this. First and foremost, you should ask yourself, really, why is history important? Without even asking yourself, why did I have to take 4 years of history to even obtain a high school diploma? That's how important it is to those in your state, in the federal government. But really ask yourself, why is history important? Well, I live in the St. Louis, Missouri area. There's a big to-do going on in Ferguson. When I say Ferguson, immediately most people think of Mike Brown, and you should. But when I was asked, I had a couple of really good friends that became phenomenal activists. One of them ended up becoming and running and joining the House of Representatives. He later stepped down because we just didn't support him the way he should have been supported. And folks we were allowing people to really beat him up when we should have been there to protect him. Now, again, you don't always have to agree with an individual, but if he's going to put his life and his, neck on the line for what's right for you, then you should at least be in support of that. So he was one of those people in Ferguson. I got several phone calls being a professional photographer asking, why aren't you down here? I said, well, while you all are watching Ferguson, I'm watching Birmingham, Alabama happen all over again. And if you all knew your history the way I know mine, you would go about this completely different. And so one really good friend, we had a long conversation while he was actually down there on the front lines. He later on that night, probably not even at night, probably like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, called me and said, they done lost their mind down here. I am literally in my car pouring milk in my eyes because I have been maced. And he told me the horrors. And I said, here's the thing. What did I just tell you? I said, but here's what the real problem is going to be. It's not about that, the ineffectiveness of you marching and getting your voice heard. I'm talking about the strategic actions on really how to make tangible change. So what's the next go plan? What's the end game to this? I say, because that same mayor that's sitting there, which I know, and he's a nice guy, don't agree with his policies, but he's a nice guy because he used to come to all the Rams events and I got to know him. Him and everybody else that sits in political seats there, I told him, I say, watch they get reelected. Mike Brown's mother ran. Now you're talking about a city that is over 90% African American. This woman runs for a seat and is not elected. The same mayor, which most people don't understand how the system works, this mayor is who appoints who? The chief of police. Chief of police doesn't have to run. Right. He does not have to apply. He is appointed to his position. Then he hires who he sees fit. So really, instead of you going to the root of the problem, you decided to just snatch the top part of the dandelion, throw it away, and you don't think it's going to reroot itself? It's going to regrow? It will.
Absolutely.
He won. He won. So when my friend called me, he said, you called it. Again, I'm watching it as it unfolds because I've seen the history. One of the number one boycotts that has ever been done, the most successful in history, is the Montgomery bus boycott.
Right.
But most people don't realize it lasted almost a year and a month, I do believe. But it lasted over a year. That's how committed people was, to the point that it almost shut down an entire transit system along with a city because they didn't have the money that we were actually putting into the system. People were walking miles to work. So when I saw that, and now they're having more problems on the board and in the city of Ferguson, but this is you. And what I say to people again, when do you finally ask yourself, why is history important? And it's important because you need the blueprint. All of these things that we're battling, our ancestors have fought many, many years ago in different eras and won. And we're refighting them because we don't know what happened. And we're fighting them with old tactics because we don't have the blueprint to the last battle that happened. So yeah, we may be winning a couple battles here and there, but we are just fastly and grossly losing the war. Like, people do not understand how important 2020 election is. I'm watching an individual actually purchase the election. I said, okay, so nobody's going to ask this man, you so wealthy that just all of a sudden you grew a conscience that you wanted to do something today when it became important enough to you to run for the highest office in the land, but yet you were the same man that incarcerated a ton of Black men on the stop and frisk. So nobody's going to ask him that question. Nobody. But you yet are still the friend of the individual who seated.
But excuse me, sadly, as you say that, we still seem to forget something that's very important and overused, that if you do not know your history, you're destined to repeat it. So what's happening right is you have the old generation like myself, the younger generation, the millennials, etc., are too busy fighting one another, trying to impress upon people that they have the answer, when in fact the answer is among all of us.
Absolutely.
And we do not come together. People are arguing right now about Bernie Sanders and Biden and all of this stuff instead of, dare I say, with you having been an NFL photographer for years, with me having dabbled in and out, I still ask the question, when are people going to get it? Is that we are still fumbling around in the same waters with no leadership, no voice. They argue about Michael Jordan every day. They argue about LeBron every day. So, and I keep asking people, when are y'all going to get it? We have always been allowed to entertain. Who is Michael Jordan? Just another entertainer. Who's LeBron? Just another entertainer. Who's Melvin Lawrence? Just another entertainer. So when are we going to get our eyes opened and start to understand that we're going to have to affect the infrastructure of what's actually happening? And everybody whining about Trump and I lead the bandwagon of Trump bashing. Sadly, it's very difficult to get people to actually come together, as you're sharing with us now, and plan and step up and stand together. When I saw a stat the other day that's talking about 72% of the people are saying that they're not going to vote for Biden.
Well, here's my sentiments is that I don't care who you vote for. My thing is vote intelligently. Vote for the candidate that you really believe is going to make it better for you and those that you care for. I don't care what. Right now, if there was a good, as Killer Mike said, if there was a 10-point agenda that was given to us and that said that we're going to make for sure that these 10 points that African Americans are concerned about will be met if I become president, I don't care if you wave the flag of a Republican, a Democrat, or independent. You got my attention. And what I'm saying to people is that we have to start taking responsibility to what we are actually adding to what's already oppressing us. Me and you just shared what I said to what my father taught me. He was like, what I'm going to teach you is to never be a follower. Now, I'm not saying for you not to be able to serve and follow, but you will not be a follower. Because if you are with a group of people that have caused an issue and you all get in trouble, I don't care about the rest of them people. It's on you.
Absolutely.
I'm concerned about you.
May I pause for a moment and say hello to Jenny? It's good to see you again, Jenny. Kente, glad you're here. Feel free, Kente, if you'd like, to grab one of those spots. You're going to help us out here. You guys, Kente has so many outlets. I don't even want to try to start call his outlets. He has several outlets that he does. He's an excellent. Now he's coming on with us now, and he's always supportive.
Good.
Right him the opportunity. And as Kente is coming in, if we'll talk a little more pinpoint, because the Overton Nation, I mean, all of the things that just this month alone, information you've been putting up and things you've been showing, and it speaks to all the things that we're talking about. So I want to shut up and allow Kente and I ask him to stay with us. If you're comfortable, Kente, stay with us, brother. Feel free to jump in, ask questions, and share. Jenny, you feel free to join us as well.
Oh, how you guys doing?
Hi.
Good.
Great, man. Good to see you. Okay, Kente, I don't know if I think you met Chantell, but she's an ex-NFL photographer for 20 plus years, and she's an Overtonnation historian and that kind of thing, just a real Renaissance woman.
All right.
And I think Jenny is part of this Overtonnation, and they have such rich history, man, throughout America, quite frankly. And I told this.
Well, let me say this. If anyone really wants to even while we're live right now, if you want to kind of peek in and get an overview of who and what Overtonnation is about, then go to Instagram, if you have an Instagram account, and look up Overtonnation. It's all one word. And you'll see I've been posting Black History highlights every day. And 90% of them are family members or connected to our family. What I often tell our family when we get together for a reunion or when we just get together for a family function is there's not an era in this country or even in this world that our family members have not touched and have not been prominent within that era. So, with that being said, again, what I opened up and asked everyone, and I would please say that you ask yourself along with your family is, why is history really important? And I gave an actual example with what's happening not even 15 miles from me in Ferguson, Missouri. And there's no way that that should continue. As well as I hear a lot of people say, oh, I don't vote because it doesn't matter. Okay, if you don't see what's going on and see that they're trying to take the vote from the African Americans, then you're fooling yourself. But if you knew history, you would understand what happened and why we had to fight for our right to vote. Because when we actually were liberated from slavery and we liberated ourselves, because I want that to stop too. Stop telling Lincoln and giving him the credit that he liberated us. I'm telling you, Springfield, Illinois used to hate to see me come into the monument. They were like, oh, Lord, here she comes. Because we can all have a conversation. But stop that, because we liberated ourselves. Secondly, when we went into the Reconstruction Era, Blacks ran this country for about 7 to 10 years. And when they saw that people that were of our skin color, of our melanin, decided that, oh, we're going to even the playing field for everybody. Oh, now I got to figure out how to snatch your rights. And that's what's happening now. When you listen, like I listen with a different ear. Like I tell people, I see everything in photos because I'm a professional photographer. So I tend to see things differently than other people. And I tend to hear things differently as well. So when I'm hearing campaigns and things, I'm listening with a different ear. And as I said, the last presidential campaign, while you're saying that you're for the African Americans and you're saying all of these things, because as my grandmother say, everybody's mouth cut. So don't be coming telling me so-and-so could vouch for me. What I said to friends and family, nobody's asking this man that why is it or how or can you produce names of people of color who are running your 100+ companies? If one interviewer had asked him that, his whole game would have been blown because he couldn't do it. I'm talking about not manager of such and such and not head of this department. I'm talking about CFOs. I'm talking about CEOs. How many of those are people that don't look like you? Since you say you for the actual African Americans, you're for, the people of color, because you have the power. And that's the same thing I'm saying with people where we can agree not to agree. I can like you, but doesn't mean that I agree with everything that you say. I'd share with you with the whole thing with Oprah. I don't. I respect Miss Winfrey for the things that she's accomplished, but sister, you got to be called out for the things that you're doing that are foul. And I shared that with you.
Yes,
her whole entire show, Greenleaf was written by a white man. And I want to say he's Jewish. So my first thing was when you posted that on Instagram so proudly, I was like, I was already not really, liking you that much. But I said, are you kidding me? You Oprah. You couldn't find not one Black writer who actually have had the experience of being in a mega Black church. And everybody sitting around this table is predominantly white. You done made all of this up. I bet not tune in to OWN. And now you upset because you and Gail are getting backlash. Well, we still need to call out the other media. Just because you Black does not mean that you are omitted for being called out. Because if I'm doing something wrong, call me to the carpet.
Right.
I'll bring my receipts and I will, state my case, but I am to be called out if I'm going to put myself in a leadership position. Definitely. But now you're upset about the Kobe situation. It's like, no, you get called out on that. Because now I'm telling my friends, okay, where are y'all calling out the rest of the media about the Weinstein situation? Yeah, you just got sentenced, but when Cosby was on trial, it was saturated on every television show, every news outlet. His was quiet. Now all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's getting so and so, but he ain't getting the kind of years that Cosby got, and he was way more wealthier and more powerful than Cosby. Call him out. Period. And that's why history is important, because we see those like the John Browns. I just mentioned the other day about the movie that's coming up, Emperor. What people didn't know is that Shields Green, he was an actual prince that was stolen from Africa. Again, that's why I tell people, don't tell part of my story, tell my whole story. And when he kept seeing his family be torn apart and his son being beat, he decided, okay, I'm gonna find a revolver and we finna do a revolt. See, now I want you to know about the revolts, because one of my favorite people in history is Nat Turner. But woo, that does it for me. Like he was like, forget it. But they were caught and marched into a trial and then hung. But what I explained to my family, that history itself is directly tied to our family. That is tied to Langston Hughes. That part of that history sits in the Schomburg Museum now. You should know that. That's invaluable. And that itself, when you have that kind of knowledge, you move differently in life. Which is why I tend to have problems, because I just don't let people talk to me crazy.
How do we then get people that look like the four of us to accept the fact that we need to not only explore our history, but we need to bring others along to be involved in that history? Because just this very moment, I thought again about Jim Brown, and I'm still like a little child. I'm still so upset with this man. Mm-hmm. Being a young black man at the time and seeing the great Jim Brown come to the rescue of Muhammad Ali and bring all of these other powerful black men, I mean, that resonated with me as a kid. And to sit here as a rusty old man and to see that same Jim Brown turn and do a total opposite. Even before that, you attack Colin Kaepernick about how you would disrespect your flag. And everybody knows that Jim was a rebel. And then you tell him to go meet with Trump and tell him he okay. So I asked that question because of what I've just added extra. How do we get people that look like the four of us?
Well, first of all,
that we need to not only know our history, but bring others along with us.
Absolutely. First of all, we need to be realistic. Nobody's going to agree with anybody 100%. I have a best friend, and we're respectful enough with each other. When we don't agree, we just don't talk to each other, because we're not going to say anything disrespectful to each other. We're not going to be hateful to each other. And when we decide that we have at least calmed down enough to come back and approach each other in a loving manner, because she's more like a sister than a best friend, then we're going to have a conversation. Now, if it's actually important enough, we'll discuss it. But if it was something that was like, you know what, that was crazy, I was just in my feelings, but that comes with self-preservation first. So you have to have enough common sense. My grandfather used to say, and I didn't understand it when I was little, my great-grandfather used to say, education is only a wall built around common sense. When I got older, I said, oh, common sense ain't that common, but education isn't handed out every day. So first off, we need to have enough common sense to say, okay, we're not going to always agree 100%, but let me at least respect you as a human. Let me respect you as the right for you to live your life as you see fit. Then the second part is that pay homage to those that broke down the doors in order for you to live in the manner that you live now. Even those that struggled over in Africa, that were fighting and lost their lives, even those that jumped overboard. Because I hear more people say, oh, I have more respect for those that committed suicide than those that actually decided to go into chains. Well, brother, if the person didn't go in chains and endure what they endured through slavery, where would you be? Most likely at the bottom of the river. You would have never made it.
It shows you the hypocrisy. It shows you the hypocrisy.
I want to first thank you, Brother Melvin, for letting me come on to your program and being with these two wonderful ladies. And I love what you're saying. I do want to speak to what you were saying about Jim Brown and other lions like him. I think one of the biggest problems that we have is in our community, we don't have an institution that protects our lions. So, for example, like during the 60s, we had some riders, people who really fought for us, who really laid their lives on the line. We don't have anything to take care of our lions. So what happens is academia does it. They start giving them, cushy jobs and whatnot. And in Jim Brown's case, the NFL, they were giving him positions with the NFL. So what ends up happening is it starts to, because we don't take care of, these lions and lionesses. So many wonderful Black leaders died in squalor,
True.
And that's something that we need to also look into, because to be honest with you, there is not a real path to being pro-Black as far as, okay, so you have this great position, right? And then you speak out and then you lose your whole livelihood and you're on the street. You know what I'm saying? We need to build something within our community so that when someone does do that, that they're taken care of. And they, not only from a financial standpoint, but from a community standpoint, like we're here with you. I've spoken up many times, and this is what I'll get is Black folks will be there, right? Yeah. They'll come to me privately and say, I really like what you said, brother.
Oh yeah.
They'll whisper their, support. We need to be like, when people, brothers and sisters stand up, speak truth to power, they can't if they look back and there's nobody behind them or there's no infrastructure behind them, then, it really is, it's discouraging to others. And what it does is when you see what happens to people when they do speak up and there's nothing to protect them, then other people are like, look, I like eating. you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I understand it, and it's hard. It's hard to speak up. So Brother Jim Brown, I don't know how old he is right now, but
84.
He's 84 years old. He's getting money from the NFL. He's getting money. These Trumps and whatnot are taking a look at. Yeah. So I think a lot of that is what that is.
And I have to agree with you, Kente, and I appreciate you bringing that out. I will say it's very frustrating. Yes, been there, done that. Got the T-shirt, trophy, mug, pencil, pad, all of that. And what you're saying is very strong, and what you're saying is very true. I would just put a caveat to that simply by saying is that when you are a sacrificial lamb, because unfortunately that's what you become in many cases, and you said all of that, that I would hope now would inspire people to rally. I would hope. Mm-hmm. And I know a hope is not a strategy. So don't misunderstand me. I know hope is not a strategy, but I would hope that it will give people a tendency to rally, because and everybody heard my story about being run off the team at football team, Louisiana Tech, because of the stance that I'm talking about now. And a lot of us now are still really good buddies. One of the guys is in the NFL Hall of Fame. But everybody, it's 40 years now, and everybody want to talk about how horrible that was and how we wish we had you on the team. It's 40 years later.
Can I say something?
Right.
You hear me?
So I hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. When you spoke about Oprah, hi. First of all, hi everybody. Um,
Hi, cousin.
um, I worked for
Hi,
airlines
Jenny.
for 25 years. I worked for American, and I was hired in '84. So I want to say it was '85. I was upstairs. Oprah came in on a 5:30 flight. So I would say it was like maybe three blacks and maybe six whites. So her plane came in. She came off the plane. So you know how everybody run up to her and they was like, she was signing autographs and everything, right? So I'm just standing back because I'm like, Chantell, I don't know a lot, but I observe. I observe. So she signed all of the white people's thing, but when it came to us, she was like, "Oh, I don't have time," and that just pissed me off. I'm just standing back. So I told the blacks, I was like, "You know what?" They was like, "Jenny, why didn't you walk up there?" I said, "Because I already scoped her. I already scoped her. She wasn't going to do anything for us, but we are the one that's helping her. When her TV come on, we were up there watching. From that day on, I never watched her again. Okay, never."
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
I
I want
understand
to.
my
Jenny,
cousin
I'm saying
Chantel.
wow, but I'll be honest, I'm really not that surprised. So please continue.
I was very surprised because, like, I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch her on TV that much, but like I said, as I watched, I paid attention. So, like I said, just was fortunate that I was upstairs that morning when she came in. And she would come in at a time where planes not going out really till 6 o'clock. Okay, so she's coming in, and when I stood back and I just watched how she, just like we were nothing. But as long as other people walking up, she was signing, grinning. But so she still had enough time to sign. So the other two black girls walked up and left, put out their piece of paper, and she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have time. I have to go." I was like,
Wow.
"Oh,
But you know
thank
what?
God."
That's a strategic thing. That is a strategic thing that is subconsciously taught to us,
Mhm.
especially when you finally make it. I have had to pull many coattails of celebrity friends and go, you getting beside yourself.
Yeah.
And I want to build on what Mr. Kente said, is that what you were talking about is true,
Mhm.
so true. I
Very,
in
very.
when again, like I said, I listen and see things differently.
Mhm.
All that's happening is what happened on the plantation. Like the plantation structure never left, and that whole entire way of controlling us never dissolved. It just reshaped and became something else. So what do? You kill a Martin,
Mhm.
you kill, Malcolm. You make Malcolm the evil one and Martin the good one, but yet you still annihilate both of them to what? So I can make you quiet. What
Mhm.
happened on the plantation? Those that rose up, but I will kill you, beat you to an inch of your life to killing you in front of everyone so the next one knows, don't try it. But again, we forget our strength. We are still the economic floor to to this whole entire country. But
Right.
yet we're only about 17% of this actual nation. So you got
But
to think first and foremost, we've already given about 300 years of free labor. Okay. So they're already 400 years ahead. So when do we stop again? And I've said this every time I hear a family member, every time I hear a friend want to go and make an excuse, it's like, but what are you doing? What are you doing to stop it? What part are you playing in keeping to keep it going? Keep fanning that fire. First and foremost, I'm not gonna keep telling Popeyes that they got on my nerves or whomever else. I just stop taking my dollars to them. You don't have
Right.
to march in front of there, and I'm not saying marching is still not effective, but if you don't have an end game to take the financial piece out of it and then reroute it to your own community, then you have a problem. But again, as I was teaching people within this Black History Month about, everybody wants to talk about Black Wall Street, right? Black Wall Street had not been, it wasn't the first and only. There were many prominent black cities. That
Yes.
one tend to have gotten in the books, and not really in the books, it just kind of got highlighted. And then now everybody's like, oh no, what happened is that first look at the structure of it, like look at it really closely. Why were they successful? Well, when you decided that you didn't want us in your stores, or we had to come through the back door, we went and built our own cities when the Oklahoma rush came. And then we kept our money in our cities, not 13 times, not 20 times, not even 100 times. The money circulated in that city at least a year or more before it left. That's why it's Black Wall Street. The same thing happened in Virginia. The same thing happened in Kansas. All over were prominent black cities. Same thing I say right now. When I first moved in the city I live in now, it was predominantly white. It is changing. It is looking more like me. But now when I drive down the street, instead of seeing clean streets, I see trash. That's us. That's what I'm saying. We're not above being called out. You have to tap. I told a friend of mine that has I said, get out and mow your lawn. What is wrong with you?
Okay.
You know, and then everybody's like, oh, but they're taking flight. I don't care if you don't want to live next to me. I care about my community caring about itself. I don't care what it looks like as far as the makeup. But if it's my brothers and sisters, because I lived in the hood. I grew up in the hood, born and raised in East St. Louis. And when I lived in Washington Park, one of the worst cities known to man, it wasn't white folks breaking in my house before I had to finally make a clear statement to those people. Now you can run up in here again. Now I'm going to go get something drink, and I'm going to get some food. And what you just took out of here better be back before I get back. Or we're going to have a different conversation. Those are people who look like me while I'm at work working hard. So again, we have to, one, educate ourselves, and it really starts with our babies. One of the most profound things that a professor said to me is a Jewish professor said, how dare you all allow someone who doesn't look like you to create the curriculum for your children?
Right.
He said, even look at your God. The God that the majority of your race worship doesn't look like you. But go get an Indian person. Their gods look like them. Go get a Jewish person. Our God look like us. And when he said that, at first I was like, wait a minute. There is some truth to this. And that's what is happening, is they're taking those same tactics with what Mr. Kente said, is that, okay, I'm going to go ahead and beat down this person like Colin Kaepernick and Colin Kaepernick, as well as Jim Brown and any other black celebrity or a person with a voice. Like, look what they just did to Snoop. Because I'm going to make for sure that you don't do this again.
Yeah, may I interrupt you with that one? Now, you talk about somebody was just like, and now I always thought I was pretty astute on life. And I never would have fathomed, you could have bet me my life savings and I would have been homeless, that Snoop Dogg would have tucked his tail and kowtow the way that he did.
Okay.
I understand if any man should step up and apologize for his disrespect to a woman. That was not my issue. My issue is and remains is the fact that he didn't stand up for his reason for making the statement. Yeah, apologize, be a man. You never should have called her these names, all of that. I agree with all of that. But and then when we was the attorney general, who am I trying to say? Talking about she'll send the troop that will send people at him.
Yeah.
You didn't send anybody at anyone else when they were talking about doing things to President Obama or anybody else, but you want to send them at Snoop and talk about leave Gail alone. Well, my question always is, who is Gail? Other than an Oprah clone. So
that's all.
It's okay now. It's okay to trash Kobe. So why not, Chantell, you said it. Hey, let's tell my whole story. to be innocent, no sperm, somebody else's sperm. The girl admits she lied, but then because this poor little white girl, so Kobe's got to pay some money so he can just let this go away. No, that's my point. They want to continue to try to play this thing out as if Kobe was guilty.
Mm-hmm.
You know Trump is guilty, but he's sitting in the White House. You know Weinstein is guilty, but he's still playing around.
Mm-hmm.
All of these guys, all of these white boys is never brought to accountability. So that's what I'm saying. When you mentioned Snoop, I was shocked. You know, you such a thug, you so this, you so that. Then the way you back down without standing, he could have very easily apologized. He could have very easily cleaned up his statement.
Mm-hmm.
He could have very easily shown himself to be a man that he should be by saying, hey, I was out of line. I never should have even taken it there as a man toward a female. However, my point is this. He never did that.
Well, let me say this.
He's a weenie too.
Let me say this. I'm always studying, and I'm always extremely drawn to people who are very intelligent and have what I feel is something intelligent to add to any conversation. And even though I am not a Muslim, there is a lot that I appreciate and respect about their religion. And anyone that is listening to this, when it comes to that Gayle and Snoop situation, look up what Minister Farrakhan had to say. It was deep. It was deep and straight to the point. Because again, that's almost like when you're a Baptist and you often hear people who have children that says you are to honor thy mother and thy father. I have often had to tell adults, but don't just stop reading there. Keep reading to the next passage, because he charges you to say, don't you bring your child to wrath. So again, Minister Farrakhan gave a great response to the whole situation. And yet and still, I will add, Gayle has yet to even publicly apologize to his family that was grieving. Not only that, you knew. I get you asking the question as a journalist. I used to own a magazine. I used to be co-owner of a magazine. So I know journalism. Not from a photography standpoint, but I know journalism. So I get why you asked the question. But not did you just ask the question, you kept going in on this girl no matter how she answered it, because she kept saying that she has nothing but the utmost respect and love for her friend. And because you were not getting the response that you were looking for or attempting to break her down to, you kept badgering her with a question just being asked in a different format. So for that alone, yes, people had a problem with it. I often tell people too, what do black people really have a problem with the whole OJ situation? Most of us believe he did it or either had a hand in it. Then you wrote a book about what if I did it. But the problem that black people, I was at that time, I was on the road with the hottest group in the nation and still working in the hospital. So a lot of the white folks were like, that's just something. I said, no, let me tell you what black people really mad at. Whether he's guilty or not, what the problem was, you all were going to make him guilty. Now that's the problem. Now, them same black people that was sitting and saying, no, let us protect you and not let you get railroad. When you then turned your nose up to that same community and then turned around and went very ignorantly to go steal your own stuff, then we looked at it and say, yep, now the system gonna get you for the whole thing. So you know what I'm saying? So again, we have to, and I have good friends that are good friends with him. Matter of fact, not too long ago, I was in Vegas. A good friend of mine was like, hey, and I'm like, He was like, now that ain't right, Chantell. I'm like, you know me, don't do it. And he spoke to me, and I was like, hey, and we knew each other from the field.
Let me say this to you. O.J. Simpson is originally from Rodessa, Louisiana, which is population right now is probably less than 200.
Oh.
All right, OJ. The reason I'm laughing so hard is not only because of what you're saying, but OJ Simpson is my wife's cousin.
See?
And the family, I'm just being honest. The family, even, have many discussions. I'm sure I have not been in discussions with them, but I gave my rendition to OJ's cousin by simply saying this. Having always been a city boy myself, having been around people that are familiar with gangs and athletes and all of that, I said it's real simple. It's not math. Is that he probably did none of the murders, but he knew all about it.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he did it. I'm saying
it would have been impossible for him, and that's why they didn't convict him. It would have been impossible for him to murder two people and to be able to.
Everybody knows that. Everybody knows there's no way that one person could have murdered two people. So that's what I'm saying, and that's what I said to people is that most people believe you had knowledge of it, or that is what most of society believe. Now, I have my own personal beliefs, but I will keep them to myself. But at the same time, be logical and be real to the point that we even hold all of us accountable. Just because you look like me doesn't mean that you shouldn't be held accountable.
And may I return to Gail. That's why she needs to be held accountable. Absolutely. You've already said it. No empathy, no sympathy for the man's family. Secondly, and you use the word intelligent, so please let me jump on that one. Any intelligent person listening to you can hear that you are trying to get an answer that's going to please your less melanated audience.
Absolutely.
That's who she was trying to get an answer for them.
Thank you.
And Black people, even the quote ghetto people think that are so stupid, they got it too.
Absolutely.
Is that she's trying to get an answer for white people.
But see, that's what Mr. Kente was just saying.
And she took any cost to try to achieve that. It didn't matter that the man's family is grieving. You just want to try to get your ratings up and make sure that your white bosses give you the raise that you're going to get at the end of the interview and all that.
But again, that goes back to the original question. You need to ask yourself, why is history important? Then you need to ask yourself, why is it that I don't support these individuals that go and put their neck out? Like my cousin that's on here, everything that we ever sell or put out for Overtonnation, she makes sure that she supports. Where I can't say that for everyone. And here's the thing, and I often say to family members, we have no problem because we have an entrepreneur program for our children. We have no problem having our children go and sell Girl Scout cookies. And again, nothing against the Girl Scouts. But at the same time, the way our program is set up is not only to teach them entrepreneurship, it is to teach them how to build wealth and how money actually is generated and grows in this economy. And then guess what? They actually get their percentage. They're paid.
But can I say something?
Like we don't give them trinkets.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you something about our family that a lot of us. Okay, it is so many of us. I mean, I have met cousins that I didn't even know were my cousins. Okay, thanks to Chantell. I called Chantell one day, and Chantell's gonna remember this. So we were talking, and I knew she was kin to me. So I was like, so we got to talking, and I was like, so she called my grandmother's name, and I'm like, wait a minute, what you know about my grandmother? She's like, wait a minute, that was my grandmother too. I'm like, wait a minute. No, that was my grandmother. So what I'm trying to do now is like reach out to the other Overtons to let them know who. I mean, I know she was my cousin. I know I have first cousin, but then again, my dad was a Morgan, and it is so many of us too, And Chantell has like taught me so much. I mean, everything she put out, I read. Then I do a little research because I'm retired now. But and I'm learning, so I'm trying to get the other ones to learn, like John Overton. Me and him be writing back and forth, So, it's like it's just she is just awesome to me.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you,
you
cousin.
are, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that's paying attention. But I guess because I'm retired, I pay so much attention, and now my mind goes back to when I was going down with my grandmom, my grandpa, father, and everything. And things, you know what? Like she said, things don't hit you until like, wait a minute. I remember that, So I sit up
Mm-hmm.
and I think about the family and this and that. So like Sheila, she know who I'm talking about. We're two sisters, we're close. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like I moved away because of my husband, asthma. And so I don't get back to Chicago till like maybe 2 times a year, maybe 3 times a year for a couple of days. But only thing you have to do, like you said, is reach out with a phone call, a little text message, like, hey, I'm Jenny, I'm blah, 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 give me a
Mm-hmm.
call or that. And thank you, Chantell, for everything that you do. Because I'm telling you, I need a few good
Oh, thank
brains.
you. Thank you. I mean,
That's
it's a
so
lot of
cool.
hard work. It's a lot of hard
I
work. And what I would
know.
say to the masses of people is that, as cousin Jenny know, that we've had back-to-back deaths 2 years
Yeah.
in a row. And what is sad to me is
Condolences.
not only that we have lost these elders now,
Yeah.
and actually our one cousin, he was fairly young, but
Yes.
we've lost that knowledge. Like that's knowledge that is going to the grave. What happens is that what saddens me even more is that we have no problem spending whatever dollar amount it is to go to a funeral or a wake, but we won't spend that same fraction of money to go to a family function or go to a reunion. That is a problem. That's where you learn the history. That's where you become familiar, because family really means I'm familiar with you. I have a lot of extended family that aren't blood related to me.
Mhm.
One of them are the Jacksons, Stephen Jackson's family. Like every time I'm in Vegas, Mama always cooked me a good meal. Know that I'm coming. And she'll tell me, now I know you're not in this city, you're not going to come see me. And I'm like, absolutely not. So that means I'm familiar. And then you don't never know what's going to happen, that you may have to pick up a phone call and say, hey, can you? And it's not always about somebody doing something or needing something. But again, if we can support all of these companies and all of these people that have nothing to add to us, but just take from us, then
Yeah.
all we have to
Yeah.
do is take them same dollars and take it and put it into someone who's actually trying to make a difference. And that's the thing that I constantly preach to my family. And it's like, we're not asking just for donations. I'm
Right.
telling you, if you do donate, I'm going to give you something. But then I get
Yeah.
pushed back, but yet you have no problem going to donate to the Red Cross. And I've been a fire victim. I can tell you, they don't
I
give
have
much
to.
to us. They don't give much
Yeah.
to us. Or I can say, we have hurricane victims. Can you all give as the family? Then someone calls and say, well, let me find out what you're doing with this. If you're not calling the Red Cross asking them questions, you
Okay.
ask me them
Don't call
questions.
me.
Don't
Are
ask me
you
them
sure you
questions.
don't know any of my relatives,
Oh, we probably do.
Chantell?
We could probably end up
Are
crossing.
you?
Look, we are truly kids. We are truly kids, and like they think like me. Okay, I don't have time for that. But
But
you
again,
know what? Something has been bothering me, and I mean, I wreck my brain at night thinking. Okay, it's like really. So we're gonna go back to politics. I listen to some of the black people. I just can't get in my mind that why they can't see what Trump is doing to them. But it's like, oh my, I get so upset. I'm like, you have lost a lot of friends. Not because of me, because I speak out about how I feel,
mhm,
but they don't like what I say. So it's like this. If you don't like it or you don't want to hear it, that's your problem. But you better pay attention. Trump is not for you. He's not,
Right.
mhm.
he don't give a darn about us. Oh, they were like,
Right.
oh yeah. I'm like, how much do you make? How much do you make an hour? Okay, stock market just plunge. Okay, so but he
And
just
that's
don't
back
like.
to saying it doesn't matter what the candidate is under, because Mr. Rich over here that's running as a Democrat at one time ran as a Republican. But
Right,
my
right.
thing is
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
be informed and intelligent enough to know why. So then if you win, lose, or draw, you can say, I did it because of these reasons, and these are the reasons I stand on. That's all I'm saying. Because again, hats off to Killer Mike. I tell people all the time, if you really want to hear something that can, make you really think about this whole process, listen to what he said when they were at the summit. Because he was talking about T.I., who was a good friend of his, and another, I can't even remember her name. They were arguing. And he said, they're basically arguing who has the best master, who has the best slave master. He said,
I heard that.
And he was like, and he was like, no, because I'm disagreeing with my friend. And again, we don't have to be enemies for me to disagree with you. You can be very much a good friend of mine, and I'm not going to agree with everything that you do.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's
ladies, absolutely. And we could be talking all night. We're going to wrap it right here. And Jenny, I think you won once before. And as I said before, Overton Nation has a standing appointment here. So, as we continue to, I think our next one will be part 6. Okay. So, but tonight, I think, we've done a little damage, and we've shared some information, and we're familiarizing our audience more with Overton Nation, and you guys get a lot of views, by the way, and that's good. So listen, ladies, thank you very much for being here. Jenny, I don't know if you would like to let the people know if they'd like to contact or email you, if you'd like to share some information. However, if you don't, that's fine.
Oh, that's fine.
But okay, would you like to tell the people how they can contact
Jennifer Payne 61 at gmail.com.
Okay. And Dr. Chantell.
Well, what I would tell people, especially now through Black History, at any time you can contact me at overtonnation@gmail.com if you want to see more in depth, because we never have enough time to speak on everything. Go to Instagram, if you have an Instagram account, and look up Overton Nation, and you'll see the things that I've been posting about the history of those that are connected to us. Also, you can always go to overtonnation.com. On there, we are selling our mugs as well as our T-shirts, and the prominent piece is the money like that I'm wearing now. I'm just wearing a different version of it, and it is a historical bank. It is the first national chartered bank, and that has been confirmed. You can get it on a mug or a T-shirt. You can donate and then receive the mug.
By the way, it's beautiful. I'm being rude because Chantell was kind enough to gift me one of those mugs, just saying thank you, and she didn't have to do it, but I appreciate it. It's beautiful, and it is in a permanent place. That's why I don't have it here on the set. I'm going to have it on the set every time we do another Overton Nation. I just don't have it with me tonight.
Up mine one day. I was like, you don't drink up out of that. Put that back.
Okay.
Put that back. He's like,
so make sure that you guys go and you can learn a lot more. And I share more than just our family history, and we're going to be doing more. I am working with a lot of people, and let me just publicly say thank you to all of those people that have reached out to me, all of those people that are doing things with us, especially you, Mr. Melvin, and also Mr. Ross, that's in Louisiana. You guys have been so good to us. State of Louisiana has been really good to the Overton family. So thank you guys. But again, you guys can reach out to us at overtonnation@gmail.com. Go to overtonnation.com, or you can go to Instagram and look up Overton Nation.
Fantastic. So listen, guys, this is another fantastic episode from the Nobody Asked Me Guy show. Guys, as you already know, go to www.dyingonmyfeet.com. Once you get there, then you will find all of my social media outlets. And as always, I'm going to tell you, you got to get that book, Mothers and Their Men, an introspective look at mothers rearing their sons. And we got to have this conversation. So guys, look, thank you for being here tonight. We're going to turn right around again on Thursday night, and we're going to have none other than Mr. Emery Campbell, Mr. Emery Campbell is one of 3 authors of the book Gullah, and most of us have heard of the Gullah people and the Gullah language and all of that. So please come back with us on Thursday night. And you've heard me say many times that we have a plethora of guests from all over the place, and we don't want to let all the cats out of the bag, but have a great night. Go to www.dyingonmyfeet.com and you will find us there. So guys, have a great night. Jenny and Dr. Chantell, it has been great having you. We want you guys to have a great, blessed evening.
Thank you. And the same
Thank you.
Bye-bye.